Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Dare to Care. My name is Masha and this time I talk to Diana, a veterinarian and a young professional from Portugal, who is currently working at AnimalHealth Europe, which is an association who is the voice of the animal medicines industry in Europe. Diana is the Junior Public Affairs Manager and responsible for the PA files on One Health, sustainability and food producing systems, AMU and AMR and also many more. But she is also dealing with topics like animal welfare and animal and science. In this episode, she shares her personal impressions and opinions, what interested her in veterinary medicine in the first place, and how long she has been committed to animal welfare. We also talk about her work and what it means to improve animal welfare at EU level, as well as about the latest two proposals the European Commission has submitted. When we had the interview, the public could still comment on the proposal on the commercial transport of animals, and for the Commission to take these comments then into account. This episode is now being published after the deadline to comment, but it won't be the last time. There will be an opportunity to do so. So get yourself informed when and on what you can give your opinion next time and be part of changing laws at EU level. And now have fun listening. Hello and welcome to the Dare to Care podcast. I'm really happy to have you here on board. It's really funny because a friend of mine suggested that I should just ask and text you because you would be a perfect fit for the podcast. I'm really looking forward to learn more about you as a person, as a veterinarian, and also your work. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for the nice words. It's always good that we left some good friends in the way, or we found them, not left. So, my name is Diana. I'm a recently graduated vet. So I completed my master in Portugal, and then I started work in equine surgery. But then I made a shift on career, let's say, and now I work in Brussels in AnimalHealth Europe. So basically we are in contact with institutions, and what I do is public affairs. So that's why it's a little bit of a shift, because I'm not really doing clinics or surgery. I'm doing politics.
But how did you find your way? I mean, maybe you can go back to why did you chose in the first place vet medicine? Why did you study it? Was it something that you always have dreamed of, or I don't know, maybe later as a teenager came up as an idea? And what I also find always really interesting is that what kind of role played animal welfare for you? Was it always important? Was it part of it? Was it something that was very new for you?
Well, I mean, it was always there, but I must say I didn't see it until late in my life, because my family owns a farm and I really lived surrounded by animals since I was born, literally. And in fact, I was a kid and I used to sit in this little cute chair while I was watching the vets performing surgery. So when you think about it, it was pretty obvious, but I really remember saying to my family all the time that I didn't want to stay with a farm or have anything to do with it. And I was never this kid that wanted to be a vet or used to say that it was my dream profession. No, I wanted distance from it. I was fascinated, but I didn't want to go for it. I mean, then I grew up and I reached 18 years old. And of course, while I was growing, also the farm was growing and they were adopting a lot of technology. And you asked me about welfare. So yeah, they were also implementing a lot of welfare measures. These certificates started to appear. People started to be more cautious about it. So it was really a process. It was not something that I contacted with in the university. It was something that I contacted for a long time. Well, surprise, surprise, I was 18 and I entered in vet med. But actually it was not only in vet med. I entered in both, in two courses. I entered in law and vet med. So kind of what I'm doing makes a lot of sense, but it was totally not planned. So yeah. And during the studies also, in terms of animal welfare, I used to first I started to volunteer in our welfare projects in the university, and then I became the coordinator of the project until I ended the studies.
And what kind of project was that? Was it like an animal welfare volunteer group? What did you do there?
Yeah, it was basically to volunteer to guarantee that the animals used for our studies had good welfare conditions. So basically, we were working with horses and also with dogs. And yeah, it was the animals that we were using in classes, but there was this project to make sure that they were having a good life, basically. And also we worked with kids because we had an hippotropy program. So there was this association that would come with the psychologists, and we would help in the hippotropy thing.
Oh, super interesting. You have mentioned your workplace already, AnimalHealth Europe. Maybe you can shortly explain it a bit, because I think not everyone is familiar with this. And then also explain what kind of role animal welfare has with your, at your current work.
Mm-hmm. So, AnimalHealth Europe is one of many non-governmental organizations that exist in Brussels. And, what we do is we reach out to institutions and we defend animal health, as it's in the name. So, yeah, basically we represent animal health products, and our members are both companies and also national associations that represent SMEs. So we work together with them to make sure that animal health keeps being a priority in the political agenda, which is not very easy because, of course, the EU have a lot of priorities and sometimes animal health is the last one. So it's really a challenging work that we are doing alongside other organizations. And you asked me about the rule of animal welfare, right?
Yeah, so, how is it connected? Yeah.
Basically, in public affairs we have a division. So in public affairs it's me and the public affairs director. Fanny is a lawyer and I'm a vet, so we are very complementary. And basically we divide the dossiers. So half of the dossiers are with them and half of the dossiers are with me. But both of us really like animal welfare. It's really part of our career path. So we divided this one in two. So he does dogs and cats, and I'm doing the transport right now. So yeah, I mean it's a really good folder and a good timing in Brussels right now for this because the level of attention is really high on the topic. And basically the Commission released two proposals. One is to review the transport and one cats and dogs, as I was saying. And it was supposed to be four. It was one on slaughter and another one on labeling. Let's see what's going to happen. But for now, yeah, that's what I'm doing in this too. And of course, I mean, everything that we do impacts animal health. So once animal health is one of the pillars of animal welfare, indirectly, everything that we do relates with it, right?
Yeah. What would you say, because you said you studied or you did two courses, vet medicine, or you got into two courses, vet medicine and law. Now you do kind of both. How was it for you being a veterinarian and have this kind of educational background, and why did you choose policy as the field you want to have your impact?
Well, I don't think I chose it at all. It was totally a coincidence because the fact is I was always involved in students' organizations, and actually, interesting enough, because of this volunteering program, because again, it was a total accident. So when I was a volunteer in this program on my university, it was not in a very good shape, and it was about to end. So I really loved the program, and I reached out to our student organization to say, guys, well, what can we do? I really would like this to work. What can I do to help? And basically they invited me to join the association. And once they were closing the program, they were like, okay, well, before we close it, you can do whatever you think that works. If it works, we keep it open. And that's what we did. Basically, I became the coordinator, and until today, it's working. And actually, it's funny because even today I saw a post because they are starting the new recruitment for volunteers today. So it's really, really good to see these things keeping in track, and especially for something that was in a bad shape and ruined in the sense that it would end at that point. So, well, but I got a little bit lost. So back on the track. So basically, I joined the association like this. I started doing a lot of things. I started by the locals or my university, and then I started really liking it. So I went also for the national and the international. That's where I met your friend.
So the international level you mean is IVSA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, I was doing this in my free time, and on IVSA, really on my not very much free time, like I didn't had a lot of time, and I was sharing the SCoVE, the Standing Committee on Veterinary Education, that at some point had 98 people, and I was doing my internship at the same time. So you can see that I was really crazy enough to do this without a lot of time. So can you imagine like how good for me is to be paid to do this? Because I mean, I didn't know it was even possible. And probably that's the point, because I didn't know it was possible. I chose like one of the classical tracks, that is, or internal medicine or surgery, or, more the clinical part. But when I say this was an accident, it was really an accident, because basically when I was doing surgery, I ended in an hospital and I was accepted in another one, but I needed to wait for 6 months. So I needed something to do. And FV, the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe, they were looking for someone, an intern, for 6 months. So I was like, well, why not? This is perfect timing. Well, they will never accept me, but I will apply. And the fact is, actually, they accepted me. And I never left, because since I was in Brussels and I understood how much could I do and how much could I impact, for all my love that I had for surgery of equine, it was not the same. I mean, literally, when I ended my internship at FV and I had the interview for AnimalHealth Europe, I really felt that all my life was making sense. Like every project that I was in, like the associations, the volunteering, everything that I did in the farm, everything was falling into place. So yeah, that's, well, long story short, why I feel I didn't choose it. It was really...
It was kind of meant to be. I mean, it's a beautiful story to hear. That even though you don't really know in the beginning, like, where it goes to, now in the end to hear that it feels so right for you, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think I was really lucky.
You were talking about being in Brussels, and I mean, in Brussels, all the European stuff is going on, like European legislation and stuff. How is it for you working on that European level? Because, I mean, I studied in Germany, and we have learned maybe a little bit about the European law. We have learned mainly our national animal welfare law or any other kind of regulation we have that is important for veterinarians. How much did you had to learn again? Not again, maybe, but you had to learn new things. And then also, would you be interested also to go a bit further and leave the European level and go on the international one?
Oh, difficult question. Well, as you say, it's very different from the national. In the university, I don't know how is it for you guys, but in Portugal, we learn mainly the national legislation and not properly the EU. But basically, the process is more or less the same. And, well, a lot of national legislation comes from the European legislation. It's just a transposition. But yeah, it's really a lot to learn, and I feel that I'm still learning every day, because there are certain things, especially with horizontal legislation, that kind of you learn by doing. And there is not one recipe for everything. There is not one size fits all. So you also need to adjust, and Brussels always change. At the same time, it's not like 10 years ago, you would do the things in a different way. For example, being a little bit more offensive in the way that you represent your interests. But now people realize that all this polarization is not necessary, and you can actually make things a little bit in a more civilized way, let's say. And yeah, I feel there is more dialogue and all of that, but also it changes the way that the organizations interact with the institutions. It's not so much on an accusatory tone. It's more like on a collaborative approach and trying to bring solutions and not only problems, which is great. Just means that we are progressing. So yeah, sometimes it's a little bit high level, which is a bit difficult because I think for us, that people that studied science, I mean, we like details and we like to go really deep on stuff. And Brussels is totally not deep on anything. But at some points, it's really frustrating also for a perfectionist that I am, because things happen really fast and you cannot really go into detail and the perfect position paper or the perfect consultation, because sometimes you have like 24 hours or 48 hours and you need to do something, and the teams are really different because, for example, I'm working in One Health, antiparasitics, antimicrobials, sustainability of food systems. So
Wow.
it's kind of a lot. So you need to be really a generalist in a sense and be able to switch really fast your mindset and what you're thinking to be able to respond. And also, of course, we have all these critical medicines parts. So it's really different topics. And I don't know if this answers your question or I totally run away.
No, it's totally fine. The last part of my question, because I mean, I tend to like ask not only one question, but usually like a couple at the same time. So don't worry about this. I was wondering, because now you're working on the European level, and I mean, I think it's also still quite new for you because you've just started in that field. But do you think that working on the European level is definitely satisfying, or do you also are thinking of, I don't know, because next step would be Warhammer, or I don't know, is that something that you are not interested in because you have your reasons to like stay with the European field or like the European legislation, because I mean this is more local or like regional?
No, I mean, I totally, well, for now, I'm super good with European. I think it's enough. And also, we have one of the best systems, let's say, for welfare in the world. So I don't think at this point I would have the emotional intelligence that is needed to deal with situations that happen worldwide. And also to bring consensus in the international field, it's a little bit more complicated. So I think for now I'm very comfortable in working in the European landscape. Yeah, I mean, we never say never, of course, and I really loved when I was in FV, I was working a little bit with the WVA, the World Veterinarian Association, and I really liked it, but I think if it's high level right now in Europe, just imagine in the global context, it's really, really high level. And I really remember when I was in IVSA, I was sharing during pandemic times. So sometimes people told me like, yeah, you are focusing too much on the African situation. Don't forget that there are a lot of regions. And I mean, it's really difficult to make the balance, right? Because you try to do your best and you think which regions need more concern. But then, yeah, it's right. You are, if you are focusing too much on one side, you are missing the other side, and they also need progress. It's not because they are already in front that they don't need to continue their walk. So yeah, it's very complicated. So for now, no.
Yeah. That's also good. You have also already mentioned the proposals you're working on. I think not all of the listeners are familiar what you meant. Maybe you can explain what it is about, like what kind of proposals are this?
So basically, this is it's about the legislation of welfare in the EU. It's supposed to be reviewed because it was not reviewed for a lot of time. And the science advanced already a lot since the last time. And that's why the Commission was expected to publish these 4 proposals that I mentioned before. And as I said, only 2 were published. And from these 2, one is new, that is the dogs and cats. There was nothing about it before. So right now they are discussing, of course, not dogs and cats that we have at home, but for commercial purposes. Because, yeah, of course, the Commission has some restrictions on what they can legislate or not. They cannot properly tell you what to do at home with your pets. But they can impose some rules on the commercialization of it. And there is a lot of illegal trade. There is a lot of health problems. There is a lot of welfare problems, animal suffering. So, yeah, this is really, really good. And also there is this traceability part that they are focusing a lot to make sure that the animals are identified. If they get lost, we can understand who is the owner. There is also interoperability between databases of the countries, which is really good because, I mean, I don't know if you are following, but for example, for human health, they are now discussing in trialogues. Well, actually, they already reached the agreement on trialogue of the EU platform for health. And this is great because it doesn't matter where you are, you can have the data of your health anywhere because, yeah, let's be Europeans in the true sense of it. It's a union, so you should not have barriers for health. And the same applies for animals. Like, if there is identification and you are traveling with your pet and your pet gets lost, I don't know, you are in Croatia and your pet gets lost in Portugal, you have a way to connect systems and know this pet is from this person. And yeah.
I have a question in between, because you said that the Commission is doing the proposals. Mm-hmm. Can you also explain the Commission? What kind of part is the Commission in that work or in that process?
Yeah, okay. So basically we have 3 institutions that work together. So the Commission does the proposals together with stakeholders. Normally they have stakeholder advisory groups and all of this, and they open consultations also, which, by the way, the dogs and cats is closed, but the transport is still open until the 11th of April. And basically then there are 2 co-legislators, Jesus. One is the Council and the other is the Parliament. So basically, the Parliament represents the citizens, and it's elected, of course. And by the way, elections coming in June, so please vote. And then there is the Council, that are the member states that are represented there. So one is supposed to, again, represent the will of the citizens, and then the other, the governments. And these 2 can do amendments to the proposals that the Commission publishes. And in the end, basically, normally they have a trialogue to negotiate all of these amendments that the Parliament proposed or the Council proposed, and to reach an agreement on the final text that gets published in the official journal and then becomes legislation that will be transposed in country. So, yeah, I don't know if it was very confusing or no.
No, it makes sense. But this is, I think, sometimes a bit difficult for students, but also I think for full veterinarians to understand how it's being done, and also then how each single veterinarian who is not part of the government can be involved in policy or like in politics, and also in that proposals can have their say. Because you just said that for one of the proposals, the deadline is in April, so there is still time to like give your own opinion and to give your voice.
Definitely. And I keep telling that to all the vets that I know, because literally a lot of people don't know how to participate, and they keep complaining that the legislation doesn't go in the way they wanted it to go, or that legislators don't have a clue of what is happening in the field. And I mean, okay, maybe that can be true in some cases, but the fact is the mechanisms, the participatory mechanisms are in place. So it's not only the government or the commission or the co-legislators, it's also each citizen that needs to be aware that these things are happening. And I know that sometimes it's very overwhelming and sometimes the timings are not right, but it's really important that at least people understand that what is a consultation, that they can input on a consultation. If they are not inputting themselves on a consultation, they can also give feedback to professional organizations. And in our case, veterinarians, we have the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe that is supposed to give the feedback of all veterinarians. And they always ask for feedback. So basically they send their draft proposals, and then every vet can give feedback. Mm-hmm. So if someone doesn't get this opportunity for input, they should check it with their national member of FV, because they have access to this for sure. And then there is also the citizens' initiatives, which is, again, kind of nice, because 6 out of 10 citizens' initiatives that were successful, like since it started, were on animal welfare. So you can really see that people pay attention to it and citizens are concerned about animal welfare. Well, it's nice and it's not nice. Sometimes it's nice that they have this conscience. The problem is that sometimes people, so the citizen is the citizen that answers the citizen initiative with one mindset, when he becomes the consumer and goes to the supermarket, the mindset kind of changes and he forgets about what he asked for in the consultation or in the citizens initiative. But that's totally another conversation. Let's focus on the positive side of it. People are concerned. But yeah, there is a lot of ways to participate, and I think also it's our role to promote these things, and you are doing it really well. I saw that in your stories you were sharing the consultation even with a link and everything. So I mean, I think people just need to be a little bit attentive, and they will find easily the information.
Yeah, absolutely. You said that you and your colleague, you kind of divided those proposals. So your colleague is doing the one with dogs and cats, and you are more the one for the transportation, especially livestock. I think it's only about livestock. So you're more familiar with this proposal. Can you explain or give some examples what this proposal is about, and maybe what kind of rules are new or what has changed, or maybe also what kind of species has been left out?
Mm-hmm. So, well, to start, it's for now in the proposal, it's not only livestock, it's also leisure animals. So that would include, for example, horses. And basically this goes for commercial activities again. So yeah, it also includes cats and dogs, by the way. Well, just to clarify, commercial activities don't mean taking your dog and cat to the vet. Just maybe if someone understood that, to be very, very specific, no. Just really trade and this shelters part and breeding. So that's it, commercial. But yeah, you were asking me what does it include? So it's about changing the times of the trips, about the temperatures, about the density inside of the vehicles, about sea trips, because, for example, there is a huge problem with very long trips when the authorizations to the third countries have something that is not right. and then animals need to come back or to be slaughtered in place because they are not accepted. So one of the big and good changes that this proposal has is to make sure this authorization process, like all the paperwork, is worked out before the animals leave to these countries, which seems very much a detail, but it's not, because millions of lives can be lost just because of misunderstandings in the paperwork and lack of authorizations. So this is really important. And well, some of the things that we feel that is missing and we are advocating for it are first aid kits in the transport vessels, more information for people that are actually doing the transport. And then there is a little bit of a problem because the proposal requires a veterinarian in the loading and the unloading in the moment that we are facing veterinarian shortages. So it's not really sure that vets will have the capacity to be in both moments. Well, another thing that we are really focusing on that we feel that is a little bit missing is the biosecurity in the vessels and the correct cleaning and disinfection, because, I mean, it's not enough to have these rules and timing and temperatures and all this, let's call it basics, but then you don't have rules on things that can easily cause disease and can compromise the whole transport in first place. So, yeah, a lot to look at.
I mean, I was on an animal welfare conference like 2 weeks ago, I think. It's a German one. And there, of course, they also mentioned those proposals, and there were some voices that said it's not enough, it's not strict enough. Of course, you always have those voices, and well, in the end, you have to find a compromise, and especially if you have to find a solution for all European countries, not only one. But yeah, the issue with the long distance transportation is, I mean, I think we still have a long way to go for this, to also apply European law outside or like behind the European border, because that's, at least from my point of view, we should apply the law. So I'm super looking forward to how it's going to be, and over time to see more and more changes coming.
No, but you really hit the point, because everything that we're doing in animal welfare is great, but it can be efforts in vain, because everything that comes as an import doesn't have to follow the same rules. And this can be huge, because basically we are asking a lot of things to our farmers and letting a lot of products coming from outside, from third countries, that don't respect the same rules. And that goes a little bit on what I was mentioning about the consumer not having the choices that they should have, because I don't see a lot of people going to the supermarket and checking from where their products come, for example. And this is basic, and you don't need a welfare label to do that. You know that the conditions in the EU are different from outside, and this is very visible, for example, in the use of antimicrobials as growth promoters, that here is forbidden. But in countries like US, it's not. But we keep buying their products, and luckily we had a huge fight with WTO, the World Trade Organization, and EU was even sued because we didn't want their products here. And we kept the decision. But this was one decision in 1 million. And we need to have this kind of decisions for everything that has to do with animal welfare and sustainability, because we cannot stand alone. If we stand alone as EU, what happens is that all the other products are coming in a lower price, and then our people are buying these products, and what we are doing to our farmers is to oblige them to close doors. And this is what we see for a long time now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right to kind of highlight the problem with consumers being, or like to have, those two mindsets that you've mentioned. And it's kind of a paradox to say we want certain animal welfare standards here, but then how you consume products is contradictory to that.
You support the other system.
Yeah, and then sometimes actually, maybe not really without knowing, but without realizing it. A lot of discussions that I have in my like personal circle, in my personal friend group, but also family, also colleagues, the awareness and the understanding of those connections is not always there. So I feel sometimes as a veterinarian very fortunate that I understand this and that I have studied and learned this, especially by doing internships and being part of food security checks, and to be part of the slaughterhouse and to work there. So to really understand how the production of like food and like animal products works, at least in Germany and the European level. And then what kind of impact it has to be a consumer and to consume certain animal products.
No, I totally agree. I literally couldn't agree more with what you're saying, because I totally feel like what is missing is literacy. And what I also see a lot is a growing number of welfare issues, because we are humanizing animals and people don't have enough knowledge to understand that they are not humans in a small size, or well, maybe in a big size. This size analogy was not the best one, but they are not humans. They are not our babies, and they have special needs. And yeah, sometimes I really feel people are not aware. And I have a very funny, not funny story from my university, because basically in our campus, we used to have a shared campus with other courses. And basically we had a complaint because our mares were in the field and it started raining. So we didn't put them in the boxes inside. And they literally made an official complaint about this. And we had to respond to this complaint with really articles and science and everything about welfare of horses, and the fact that they can have a stereotype behaviors for being all the time in a box, and the fact that they need to grass, and the fact that they need to be outside, and they are happy outside, and they are prepared, and also that they don't have the same thermic needs than us. They suffer more with too much hot than cold. So it was really like, again, funny, not funny to understand that people lack this literacy and they thought this was a welfare issue when they were just being animals. And sometimes we don't let animals be animals, you know. Sometimes it's also the contrary. People have one standard for one kind of animal and another standard for another type of animal, because for people it's really normal to sleep with their dog in the bed and not let them outside. But then they are very much advocates for extensive farming where animals are outside all the time. And they are totally against keeping animals inside and having barns. So, I mean, like, what is the actual difference, you know? Like, if they are in a barn and they have access to the outside, aren't they better than being only outside and not having a barn to be warm and comfortable? So yeah, sometimes it's really complicated to explain. And I feel the same as you were saying. We are very lucky because we had a lot of subjects that explained this to us. And well, sometimes we need to have the patience to also explain this to other people.
Yeah, the patience and the impact you can have also in your daily life with like small conversations and maybe just one by one, like face to face. But I think that's at least one way how you can change people's mind and make them understand. But then also, of course, on the meta level, like on a higher level, like you do with your work. So it's like we need both sides, right? We need to go like from top down and then also bottom up. So we're doing both, and I hope we're doing it in a way that, yes, slowly we're like changing systems and people's minds. So with that, I would ask you, what are your personal projects or goals for this year? We still have a couple of months to go. So what are you expecting for the rest of the year?
Well, I mean, elections are around the corner, so for sure, first priority is literally related with what we are speaking, literacy, and to make MEPs, so MEPs meaning members of the European Parliament, aware that animal health and welfare are very, very important and should never be the last priority on their lists. Maybe if they don't understand this because the value in itself, because it can impact largely human health. So, well, whatever argument they understand, that's what I will really try to bring to them. Always keeping in mind that a lot of MEPs stopped having sciences in their ninth grade. So sometimes it's really a challenge to don't be technical and speak with people in a way that they really understand what are the issues that are very scientific, but we need to adjust the communication in a good way. So yeah, that would be my second one, is to keep improving my communication ways, which I feel that I progressed a lot thanks to also our communications director that is great, and she really helps me with that. And sometimes we are just I'm reviewing her texts to make it more technical and to correct the details. And I say, well, Claire, this is really not very much scientific, and then I correct it, and she comes to me and she says, well, this is totally not simplistic now. This is too technical. So we're finding our balance, and with that, I'm really learning a lot. So that's great. And well, hopefully I will start my PhD on it because I got time to do it. And yeah, I'm trying to look for a supervisor to do something on science communication for policy making. Let's see how it goes, but it's totally something that I'm passionate about more and more. And well, the thing is also to continue advocating for responsible use of medicines, antimicrobials especially. We have a platform that is a Proma. We create guidelines, we do events, all of that. So it's really a huge advocacy thing to make sure that this important medicines keep working. And this is not only the industry responsibility, this is really like everyone responsibility, and users make a lot of impact on the way that that the products will work in the future, or if we'll have them at all, right? And well, to continue promoting human animal bonds. I'm just thinking about health all the time. And yeah, I mean, making sure that welfare proposals pass. And yeah, I think that's it. And I think that's a lot of objectives for 2024 already.
Sounds really like a lot to do. Yeah. But I mean, there is enough time for that, I believe so. And it's always great to have a lot of things that you're passionate about and that you're looking forward and that you try to follow up to. So, I'm really looking forward to keep track, and I sometimes get some updates from you where you're at what point you are already. I have really one last question, because usually really a lot of veterinarians are listening, and we are both veterinarians. We have talked from that kind of perspective with this kind of lens about this topic. Do you have something that you would like to say to the veterinarians or vet students, some kind of advice or anything that you would wish for?
Yes, totally. Well, first, I'm sure we are following up because we already found common points before this started. Yes, I think we have a lot of conversations incoming about biodiversity and wildlife. But for the future vets, I would say try everything. There is a lot of career paths, and of course, there are the ones that we think that we know everything about. Even that ones, try it, because I see a lot of people dreaming about one thing, and in the end, this thing is not what they hoped for, and they are stuck because they took a lot of effort to reach that, and then they don't have the courage to leave it because it was a long way to that. So before you do this long way, just try it. Try everything you can. Do internships during the summer. Do internships during your course whenever you can. Even if it's just like following a vet one week, and just don't go to something before you try it. And never reject yourself. I used to say that there is the no you already have. So what you have to do is to fight for the yes. And if you self-reject yourself, the yes will never be there. And please don't accept trashy work conditions, please. I mean, there is a shortage of vets in the EU to start with, so we don't need to accept this kind of work conditions. But also, we need to start asking for what we deserve and what we know how to do, which is a lot, and it doesn't seem like it when we graduate, but it is, trust me. And I know that this profession can be difficult, but make sure that you find a good support network that you can use to speak with when you feel down. Will happen. We have to work with difficult conditions. We have to work with euthanasia. We have to work with difficult people. So eventually there is a situation that you will need to speak with someone about. So just make sure you have someone that you trust to do that. And bet on your political literacy. Well, if you don't do it for becoming a better citizen, at least do it for making sure you advocate for animals. And, well, finishing Dare to Care, right?
That's a really great final saying, or like your final words to find a conclusion here. Yeah, thank you very much. I think those were some really inspirational words, and I hope that everyone could like take something from that. So yeah, so we've come to an end. So I thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure to talk to you and to find so many common things. It's crazy kind of like that already an hour has been over. So yeah, again, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I really feel I would be more 2 days speaking about this, but that's good. When the time passes, it's because you were doing something you love, right?
I hope you have learned something new or have been inspired by Diana's stories. If so, please share it with someone you know, and by that, let's make the world together a little wiser. And give us 5 stars and a good review. Like always, you'll find a bunch of links in the description if you would like to know more about the proposals or other ways how you can get involved in animal welfare. If you have any questions, want to know more, or have any other comments, just get in touch at podcast.daretocare@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at daretocare_podcast. Thanks for listening and see you next time.